Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here are some of today's top stories. Israeli forces enter Rafah, seizing the Gaza side of the crossing. A delegation heads to Cairo, Egypt for ceasefire talks. Boy Scouts of America is changing their name. The move follows a flood of sexual abuse claims and a new focus on inclusion. San Diego surpasses all other sectors in April border crossings. The mayor shares what he has seen. First up, updates on the Israel-Hamas war. Israeli tanks are entering Rafah as the Israeli delegation heads to Cairo for ceasefire talks.
The War Cabinet unanimously decided Israel will continue its operation in Rafah in order to apply military pressure on Hamas to release our hostages and achieve all the war's objectives. Despite Hamas's grandstanding, Hamas's proposal is far from Israel's core demands. Nevertheless, Israel will dispatch a ranking delegation to Egypt to maximize any chance of an agreement on terms acceptable to Israel.
Israeli forces today took control of the Gaza side of the Rafah border crossing. The point of entry has been key to delivering humanitarian aid. But Israel said terrorists have also been using the crossing. The Israeli source told NBC that this is a very limited operation to put pressure on Hamas during ceasefire talks, and that is not the start of the ground offensive that Israel has promised. People in Gaza continue to flee Rafah following evacuation orders. The Israeli military said that the vast majority of people in eastern Rafah have evacuated. CIA Director William Burns is in Cairo along with the Israeli delegates for ceasefire and hostage negotiations. A major disagreement is over whether the 33 hostages released in the first phase will be living or dead. Hamas said they could include the dead bodies, while Israel demands living hostages. Also today, President Biden delivered a keynote address at the Holocaust Memorial Museum's Days of Remembrance ceremony that honors the 6 million Jews killed during World War II.
Here we are, not 75 years later, but just 7.5 months later, and people are already forgetting. We're already forgetting that Hamas unleashed this terror. It was Hamas that brutalized Israelis. It was Hamas who took and continues to hold hostages. I have not forgotten, nor have you, and we will not forget.
Biden addressed the horrors of October 7th, as well as what he called the alarming rise in anti-Semitism that followed in the U.S.
But there is no place on any campus in America, any place in America, for anti-Semitism or hate speech or threats of violence of any kind.
His speech comes as the NYPD arrested 24 protesters during the anti-Israel march toward the Met Gala last night. The protesters marched to Central Park, defaced a World War I memorial, and placed a Palestinian flag over a Civil War monument. One person is dead and more were injured when a tornado tore through Oklahoma. Thousands are without power following destructive storms in the Great Plains. The area between Barnesdall and the Bartlesville, north of Tulsa, were hardest hit. Video footage shows the storm touching down late Monday. The twister damaged dozens of homes. This is the second tornado that hit the town of Barnesdall in just 5 weeks. Tornado damage was also reported in Sullivan, Missouri, and DeKalb County, Tennessee. Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska also experienced the hail and the strong wind gusts. The weather forecast shows the thunderstorms moving north today into the Midwest and the Tennessee Valley. Outage trackers show that about 5,000 people were still without power as of this afternoon. The Boy Scouts of America is changing its name for the first time in its 114-year history and will become Scouting America. The renaming is a significant shift as an Irving, Texas-based organization emerges from bankruptcy following a flood of sexual abuse claims and seeks to focus on inclusion. The organization began allowing gay youth in 2013 and ended a blanket ban on gay adult leaders in 2015. In 2017, it made a historic announcement that girls would be able to join Boy Scouts. a move that prompted a lawsuit from Girl Scouts of the USA, saying it created a marketplace confusion and damaged their recruitment efforts. The pandemic also took a toll on the organization's membership. After a high point over the last decade of over 2 million members in 2018, the organization currently services just over 1 million youth, including more than 176,000 girls and young women, an 80% drop in membership from the historic peak of 5 decades ago. Last year, the Boy Scouts adopted a $2.4 billion bankruptcy reorganization plan, allowing the organization to keep operating while compensating the more than 80,000 men who say they were sexually abused as children while scouting. The name change to Scouting America will go into effect on February 8, 2025, on the organization's 115th anniversary. For the first time in decades, San Diego has emerged as the primary region along the southern border for migrant arrivals. NTD's Cristina Corona provides further details from the mayor of El Cajon.
San Diego County has now surpassed all other areas in border encounters for the first time in 25 years. In April alone, there were 37,370 encounters, surpassing Tucson with 31,240, El Paso with 30,410, and Del Rio with 10,275. El Cajon Mayor Bill Wells discusses why he believes San Diego leads in border encounters.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that California is a sanctuary state and that we welcome immigrants and illegal aliens with open arms. We don't ask a lot of questions and we don't do any kind of enforcement here at all.
He says Texas toughens their stance on illegal immigration using razor wire and tactics to deter entry.
I think the cartels who really run the whole show here, they're looking for the path of least resistance, and they're choosing California.
He adds, since October 1st, the San Diego sector has witnessed a total of 214,855 apprehensions, highlighting a significant challenge the region faces. Since September, over 140,000 individuals have been released into the streets of San Diego County. With hundreds of thousands of people, Mayor Wells states it's not what he expected.
What we didn't quite understand was that the NGOs that are making billions of dollars off of this process, they've been pretty efficient at getting people off the buses and then over to the airport or down to the Greyhound station to be shipped off to other parts of the country. I think that's part of the Biden administration's goal, is to make this not as noticeable by sending them off to the blue state areas.
Recently, Mayor Wells witnessed firsthand dozens of Chinese nationals on a remote dirt road, waiting for Border Patrol to process them. He also observed dozens of ripped-up passports, indicating attempts by illegal immigrants to conceal their identity. Mayor Wells expressed that the federal government has failed in its duty to secure our borders.
They've made a decision that they're going to increase immigration from foreign nationals by 10 to 15%. Or I'm sorry, 10 to 15 times what it has been in the past. This is unprecedented in American history, usually unprecedented in world history. Countries just don't open up their borders to anybody who wants to come in. There's usually some kind of a decision-making process.
Mayor Wells, who is currently running for Congress in San Diego, emphasizes the need for GOP control of the House, Senate, and White House to address the border crisis. Cristina Corona, NTD News.
A bill that could have forced the grocery stores to rethink the self-checkout lanes now put on hold after a Senate vote Monday. The proposed California law aimed to regulate how stores should implement a self-checkout to reduce theft and boost employment. NTD's David Lamb reports.
A new California bill just put on pause has been causing concerns for retail stores. Senate Bill 1446 would ban grocery and retail drugstores from offering self-checkout machines unless checkouts are limited to 10 items or fewer. At least one traditional employee checkout station is offered. Customers are prohibited from purchasing certain items, one employee for up to every 2 self-checkout stations, and they're relieved from all other tasks. Opposition comes from groups such as the California Grocers Association, saying the checkout experience, tech upgrades, and employee operations should be in the hands of grocers, not politicians.
I think it's definitely a form of overreaching. You know, this bill gets into positioning where and how many employees you should have in the self-checkout area, you know, basically down to where someone should stand. And that's a pretty new level of dictating to a business.
Stores also have to complete an impact assessment before implementing artificial intelligence technology. Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas introduced the bill this year.
While it is crucial to adapt to new technologies, protecting jobs and worker safety must be prioritized in the process. As self-checkout has become more commonplace, lone workers have become easy targets for theft and violence as they are forced to stock, merchandise, operate, checkout stations, and cater to customers while all trying to monitor their stores for retail theft.
Back in March, Target said they're rolling out express self-checkout for a max of 10 items across most of its stores nationwide. Walmart said that its store managers would decide whether to limit access to its self-checkout stations depending on customer traffic. The bill is put on pause as of Monday, though it's unclear when it will be brought back up again. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Tougher laws for funeral homes could soon come to Colorado. Lawmakers passed a bill that requires more inspections and licenses. The NBA rising star wins the Rookie of the Year award. He plays for the San Antonio Spurs and has some impressive season averages. A police dog finds an elderly woman clinging to a tree on a steep ravine. The woman was reported missing earlier in the day. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. After rotting bodies and fake ashes were discovered at a Colorado funeral home, lawmakers are looking to pass funeral home regulations. It includes more inspections and licenses.
Colorado lawmakers passed a bill Monday to address the state's lax funeral home oversight. It's a second measure aimed at regulating the industry that passed last week. Both follow a series of horrific incidents at funeral homes, including sold body parts and fake ashes. The owners of Return to Nature Funeral Home, where the 190 decomposing bodies were found, have been arrested and face hundreds of charges, including abuse of a corpse. The cases have devastated hundreds of families. Many learned their child's or parents' remains weren't in the ashes they received, but instead decaying, sometimes for 4 years, in a bug-infested building. They were also often stacked atop each other. The case turned a spotlight on the state's funeral home regulations, some of the weakest in the nation. The new bill would require routine inspections of Colorado funeral homes. It will head to Colorado Governor Jared Polis's desk for a signature after the House considers a minor change by the Senate. The legislation would also give regulators more enforcement power over funeral homes. The second bill, which is already headed to the governor's desk, would require funeral directors and other industry roles to be licensed. Those qualifications would include background checks, degrees in mortuary science, passage of a national examination, and work experience.
An emergency was declared for tuberculosis in one Southern California city. Authorities say the risk is low for the general public, but higher for those experiencing homelessness or with a weakened immune system.
Authorities in a California city declared a health emergency last week after an outbreak of tuberculosis in Long Beach. It left at least 1 dead and more than a dozen infected. The Long Beach City Health Officer issued the declaration on May 2nd to increase resources for tracking, screening, and treating people who have been exposed in the outbreak linked to a hotel. In a statement, the department said the outbreak is currently isolated to a distinct population and the risk to the general public is low. The population at risk in this outbreak has significant barriers to care, including homelessness and housing insecurity, mental illness, substance use, and serious medical comorbidities. As of April 29th, there were 14 cases. In addition to the single death, 9 have been hospitalized at some point, and about 170 people have been identified as likely to have been exposed. TB spreads through the air, such as when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. Other risk factors include crowded and poorly ventilated environments. Not everyone will become infected when exposed to the bacteria, and not everyone infected becomes sick.
Miss USA announced that she is resigning her title. She said on social media that she feels the decision is best for her and her mental health. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
Noelia Voigt broke the news on Instagram in a letter saying she realizes it might come as a large shock to many. In the letter, she wrote, quote, "In life, I strongly value the importance of making decisions that feel best for you and your mental health. As individuals, we grow through experiencing different things in life that lead us to learning more about ourselves." Voigt was former Miss Utah and crowned Miss USA 2023 in September. She is the first Venezuelan American to hold the title. She said, quote, "I am grateful for the love and support of the fans, old and new, my family, my friends, my coaches, former state and local directors, and my darling beloved Miss Teen USA, Uma Sofia." A spokesperson for the Miss USA organization told CNN that they are supportive of Voigt's decision and, quote, "The well-being of our title holders is a top priority, and we understand her need to prioritize herself at this time." They also said they are reviewing the transition of responsibilities to a successor and will announce the new Miss USA soon. One possible replacement is Savannah Gankowitz from Hawaii, who was the first runner-up at the 2023 pageant. Also, Alexis Lumens of Wisconsin, Jasmine Daniels of Pennsylvania, and Luvia Alzate of Texas were the next runner-ups in the top 5 and potential candidates. Voigt said in a letter that she never could have imagined the journey her childhood dream would take her on, and, quote, "Constant and consistent hard work and dedication all led me to where I am today. And I hope that over the last 7 years of competing in pageantry and sharing my journey with you all is something that inspires you to never give up on your dreams, whatever they may be." Jason Blair, NTD News.
In NBA news, rookie Victor Wembanyama has made waves with his sensational debut season. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on the story.
Victor Wembanyama burst onto the NBA scene with a level of skill and maturity that differed from his newcomer status. His performance throughout the season was nothing short of exceptional, earning him the prestigious title of NBA Rookie of the Year by unanimous vote. Week after week, game after game, Wembanyama consistently delivered jaw-dropping performances, averaging an impressive 21.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, 3.9 assists, 3.6 blocks, and 1.2 steals per game. He quickly established himself as a formidable force on both ends of the court. What truly set Wembanyama apart, however, was his defensive prowess. Leading the league in blocks with a staggering 250 rejections, he demonstrated a rare combination of timing, athleticism, and court awareness that left opponents struggling to find ways to score against him. His ability to alter shots and protect the rim became a defining characteristic of his game. Offensively, Wembanyama was equally impactful. With a smooth shooting stroke and the ability to stretch the floor, he knocked down 128 three-pointers over the course of the season, adding a new dimension to this team's offense. His versatility was on full display as evidenced by his 2 triple-doubles, one with assists and the other with blocks, showcasing his ability to contribute in multiple facets of the game. In addition to his remarkable defensive and offensive contributions, Wembanyama made history with his statistical achievements. His 4.81 steals and blocks per game average are the most stocks by any player in a single season since Ben Wallace did it in 2001 and 2002. Furthermore, his 250 blocks in a season made him the first rookie to achieve this feat since Alonzo Mourning and Shaquille O'Neal did it in 1992 to 1993. As the season draws to a close, Wembanyama's impact on the NBA landscape is undeniable, and the Spurs look to dominate for many years to come with the Frenchman by their side. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
In Colorado, a police dog found a missing elderly woman after she was reported missing on May 2nd. She was found 2 hours later hanging on a steep ravine.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
This is a friendly dog. He found you.
That's good.
We're going to get you home, okay?
Body camera footage shows Officer Austin Spear and his dog K9 Mercury saving the day in the city of Greenwood Village. Police received a call about an 85-year-old woman who went missing for 2 hours. Mercury is trained to search and track missing persons. He found the woman clinging to a tree down a steep ravine where she could not be seen from the roadway or canal. The woman safely returned to her family. Mercury joined the police department a year and a half ago and can also detect narcotics.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. TikTok is slamming the U.S. government with a lawsuit. That's as its Chinese owner battles to keep its control of the app and access to its 170 million American users. More on China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.